The mall was packed with weekend shoppers when an elderly black woman quietly stepped to the counter, holding a small birthday gift for her granddaughter. But the moment she handed over a $20 bill, the cashier's smile vanished. He lifted the note like it was poison and whispered, "This is fake." Within seconds, mall security surrounded her. Then two cops rushed in, shouting orders, grabbing her arms, handcuffing her in front of everyone as phones started recording her humiliation. Real justice moments like this remind us that truth always rises, even when humiliation comes first. Before we go deeper, drop your city in the comments. And if you stand for justice over power, hit like and subscribe. Your voice matters here. Her name was Ms. Lillian Carter, a soft-spoken retired cafeteria worker who spent nearly 40 years serving meals to kids who barely remembered her name. She wasn't rich, didn't drive a fancy car, didn't wear expensive clothes. But she carried something far more valuable: dignity, patience, and a kindness people rarely notice until it's gone. That afternoon, she came to the mall with one simple mission: to buy a small bracelet her granddaughter had been dreaming about for weeks. She even stopped by her local bank earlier, withdrawing clean, crisp bills because she didn't like giving worn money as gifts. She believed gifts should feel fresh, new, and full of love. Inside the mall, her world felt peaceful. She moved slowly through the crowd, smiling at children running past, nodding to shoppers, enjoying the rare moment of calm she allowed herself. When she reached the jewelry counter, she picked the bracelet up with gentle hands, admiring its shine. The cashier greeted her warmly at first, ringing it up without hesitation. Everything felt normal, ordinary, the kind of quiet moment no one expects to turn into a storm. But the moment she handed over the $20 bill, the cashier's expression shifted. He held it up to the light, squinting with exaggerated suspicion. A small frown formed. Then, like a fuse catching fire, he whispered to the security guard beside him. Within seconds, eyes turned toward her. People leaned in. The air shifted. Her ordinary day was gone. Something darker was coming. Mall security stepped in first, forming a half-circle around Ms. Lillian as if she were some dangerous threat instead of a grandmother buying a bracelet. She clutched her purse nervously, trying to understand what was happening. "Sir, that money came straight from my bank," she said softly, her voice cracking. But the cashier shrugged with fear-filled confidence. "It feels wrong. I'm not taking it." Before she could say another word, two police officers stormed in, one older, hardened, already convinced of her guilt, the other younger, unsure, watching everything too quietly. The older cop snatched the bill from the cashier, barely glancing at it. "You think we're stupid?" he barked. "Passing counterfeit money in broad daylight? Not very smart." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras lifted. People whispered. Some shook their heads at her as if the accusation were already truth. Ms. Lillian raised her trembling hand slightly. "Officer, please, check my other bills. I can explain." He cut her off sharply. "Save it. We've seen your type." Her heart dropped. She tried one more time, voice shaking. "Just call my son. He'll—" "No," the cop snapped. "Turn around." And with that, they grabbed her wrists. Handcuffs clicked. Her humiliation began. The cold metal tightened around Ms. Lillian's wrists as the older cop yanked her arms behind her back. Pain shot up her shoulders, but the humiliation hurt far more than the pressure of the cuffs. People kept recording. Some shook their heads in pity. Others whispered things they thought she couldn't hear. Counterfeit, at her age? She probably does this all the time. Scamming people. Figures. Mall security pushed onlookers back, forming a wall to keep anyone from stepping in. The cashier folded his arms, acting like he had just uncovered a major criminal. Every second felt like the world was turning against her. The officers began escorting her through the mall, slowly, deliberately, as if parading her for everyone to see. Her feet dragged, not from resistance but from sheer disbelief. She kept whispering, "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything." The younger officer walked beside her, eyes shifting between her trembling hands and the aggressive partner leading the charge. Something about the whole situation wasn't sitting right with him. But he said nothing. Fear of his senior officer's temper weighed heavier than his conscience. Halfway through the mall, her phone began vibrating inside her purse. The ringtone was soft, a gospel hymn, the one her son had set for himself. She turned slightly and begged, "Please, please let me answer. It's my son. He'll explain everything." The older cop didn't even look at her. He unzipped her purse, grabbed the phone, and turned it off with his thumb. "Enough. You'll talk at the station." A wave of panic hit her chest. "Please don't do this to me," she said, tears slipping down her cheeks. "That money came from my bank. I can show you the receipt." He stopped walking and spun toward her. "Lady, I don't want your stories. You're going down for this." Her knees weakened. She had never felt so small. The crowd murmured louder now, anger shifting from her to the officers. A few brave voices said, "Check the bill," and "She looks innocent," but security kept pushing them back. And then, as they reached the mall's main entrance, a voice spoke sharply. "Let her go. Right now." The older cop froze mid-step. A tall man in plain clothes pushed through the crowd with calm authority. His presence immediately drew every eye. He approached Ms. Lillian, kneeling slightly to meet her trembling gaze. "Mother," he said quietly, but firmly. Ms. Lillian blinked, hope flickering. "Marcus. Special Agent Marcus Hill, FBI. Badge number 458392, he announced loudly, holding up his credentials. The mall fell silent. Cameras zoomed in. Phones lifted. Every bystander gasped. The aggressive cop's face drained of color. His voice faltered. We didn't know." Marcus's eyes burned with controlled fury. "You handcuffed my mother in front of dozens of people without evidence. You called her a criminal for no reason." He motioned toward the bill. "Check it." A security guard nervously handed him a scanner. He scanned the $20. The screen confirmed it, real money. "See?" Marcus said, voice calm but sharp, addressing both officers. "This is legal tender. You have violated civil rights, and your actions are being recorded by every person here. Bodycam footage, mall cameras, it's all evidence." The crowd murmured, anger and disbelief rippling through them. Some began shouting at the officers. The aggressive cop stammered, trying to regain control. "Supervisor." Marcus called, his tone unwavering. Within minutes, a supervisor appeared, pale and nervous. Marcus explained the situation, pointing out the procedural violations, public humiliation, and misuse of authority. The younger officer beside the aggressive cop shifted uncomfortably, silently nodding as Marcus methodically dismantled every excuse. Ms. Lillian watched in stunned relief as the balance of power shifted. The son she had trusted to protect her had arrived. Her humiliation was being undone before hundreds of witnesses. Marcus looked at the officers one last time. "You will remove her handcuffs immediately, and an official report will be filed. Your behavior has consequences." The aggressive cop swallowed hard, realizing the gravity of the situation as the crowd's tension turned into murmurs of justice being served. For Ms. Lillian, the storm of fear and shame was finally breaking. The aggressive cop's hands shook slightly as Marcus Hill, calm but unyielding, approached. "Step back," Marcus said to the officer, his voice low but commanding. "You have no authority here anymore. This is being documented. Every word you've spoken, every action you've taken, is evidence against you." The younger officer, still uneasy, nodded subtly, finally acknowledging the truth. Marcus turned to the supervisor who had just arrived, pointing toward the handcuffed woman. "Immediately remove the cuffs. She is not under arrest. And ensure a full investigation is filed on your subordinate. This is a violation of federal law, civil rights, and basic human dignity." With trembling hands, the supervisor stepped forward and unclasped the handcuffs. Ms. Lillian rubbed her wrists, feeling relief wash over her, tears streaming down her face. Around them, the crowd whispered, some cheering softly, others shaking their heads in disbelief at the officer's actions. Marcus held up the $20 bill. "You claimed this was counterfeit. Here's the truth, the serial number matches federal records. You acted on suspicion, not evidence. You humiliated an innocent elderly woman and will be held accountable." The aggressive cop sputtered, trying to justify himself. We thought. Marcus cut him off sharply. "You thought? Your assumptions cost her dignity and caused public shame. That is not judgment. That is abuse of power." Cameras flashed. Bystanders recorded every moment. People who had initially whispered their judgment now murmured apologies or shook their heads in solidarity. A few brave souls clapped softly, acknowledging justice being restored in real time. Marcus then placed a protective hand on his mother's shoulder. "Mom, you're safe now." His voice carried both reassurance and quiet fury at those who had caused her pain. The supervisor, now visibly flustered, muttered an apology, promising a full report. The aggressive officer stayed silent, realizing that every mistake, every act of negligence, had been exposed. The crowd shifted its focus entirely to Ms. Lillian and her son. For the first time since the ordeal began, she felt the weight of shame lifting. The mall buzzed not with gossip, but with awe at a mother protected, a son standing up, and justice finally being served in full view of the public. Her humiliation had transformed into vindication. Her fear into relief. And for those watching, it was a stark reminder, power misused will always face truth. Ms. Lillian's wrists were free, but the memory of humiliation lingered. Her son, Marcus, guided her gently through the crowd, shielding her from flashing cameras and murmuring onlookers. Every step was a reminder that justice, though delayed, had arrived. The supervisor offered a formal, public apology, promising disciplinary action for the aggressive officer. Mall staff approached, offering the bracelet she had come to buy, free of charge, along with their own apologies. The aggressive cop was left speechless, the weight of accountability pressing down on him as Marcus quietly explained the legal consequences of his actions. Outside the mall, mother and son embraced. Tears fell freely, not from fear this time, but from relief and validation. "You're safe now, Mom," Marcus whispered. She smiled through her tears. "Justice still lives," she replied. And in that moment, the crowd around them, witnesses to her ordeal, knew that truth, courage, and authority wielded wisely could overturn even the darkest humiliation.